Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Dust of the Past. Last session, party was out in the Aldani Basin after coming down from the heart, and they eventually traveled, continuing on their way towards Orlunga, and arrived outside of a fortified area. You just pulled your canoe up onto the bank, and you can see the charred corpses and the butchered reptilian corpses lying in piles off to the side. The giant spikes coming from this trench, it's hard to tell the depth of the trench because it's entirely filled with muddy water, have blood on the tips of several of them. And up at there's this front section that has this larger palisade, like the whole area is walled with a palisade, but this front section has a thicker, steady gatehouse. And on that gatehouse, there are two guards who are standing up there, and then they're crying out in kind of startled surprise as they see you pull your canoes right up next to theirs, which are staked onto the riverbank. And then one of them calls out after you and says, Who are you? What are your intentions?
We're just some humble adventurers adventuring.
We're out of supplies.
They confer for a little bit and then say, we don't have much in way of supplies.
Fair enough. I'm sure it's more than us, though, and you at least have some place slightly sheltered.
They look at each other and then say, stand there. We'll have someone come talk to you in a moment. Looking at them, you see one of them has a bandage across their head, and both of them are standing slouched, slumped down. One of them goes down from the gatehouse, and you wait a little while, and while you're waiting, you can see that there is a tattered banner, and it's kind of hard to see because it's covered in mud, dangling from the front of this gatehouse. But through that banner, you can see vaguely the outline of the symbol of the silver flame.
Ooh, great. Fantastic.
After
Am I supposed to know who they are? Sorry.
Yes, Jasper, you would know
Okay.
who the silver flame is. The silver flame is a deity of light, primarily worshipped in Thrain. Thrain is cannot pronounce words today, theocracy based off of worship of the silver flame.
Okay.
And one of the major nations of the world.
Your gods are fake, but that's okay.
Silver flame is the only god that you can walk up and actually see.
It's the only demonstrably not fake one, unfortunately.
This is
No,
D&D.
that was not a god. That was not a god.
This is D&D. They're all fake.
So
No, mine is real.
you wait another couple of minutes, and then the guard returns, and coming with them, you see a short, red-haired dwarf with a long beard, also an armor emblazoned with the symbol of the silver flame, and he calls out to you, and he says, "Well met, travelers. What brings you down this ocean star?" Which Azaka kind of whispers to you is the name of the river that you were just on.
Sort of hanging back as we all stand next to our canoes, awkwardly waiting to be invited inside. At the appearance of the crest of the silver flame, Mirasandra drains away and is replaced by Liru. She doesn't say anything, just kind of shakes her head, looking a bit disoriented, and focuses on the approaching humans, or humanoids, I should say.
They're still standing atop the gate post. They haven't come out. This dwarf just came up with them.
Shields her eyes to look up at the gate posts then.
We're just some humble adventurers, and we've run low on supplies, and we were wondering if there's anything you could spare.
He lets out a sigh and he says, "We're struggling as it is to keep everyone fed and alive. I'm afraid unless you have something to offer, we don't have much in the way of supplies. And cruel as it may seem, we can't afford the luxury of sharing."
Perhaps we can be of some assistance then.
He pauses and he says, "You're adventurers?
That's correct.
And what kind of skills do you bring?"
I bring story and song, and just a smile to everybody's face.
That's well and good, but we're practically at war out here. Need a little bit more than that.
You don't need a little bit of morale boosting every now and then. Come on.
I think what my friend is trying to say is we've made it this far in the jungle by ourselves and have fought multiple beasts that probably would have killed you in an instant. And we do it all along the way with a little song in our heart. So
I lost an arm, and yet I'm still standing here before you.
So you can fight.
That we can.
Mostly.
He looks you over, noticing Div, especially. You can kind of tell he's like looking, trying to narrow his eyes, and he says, "And is that your, what does that do?"
That's a canoe. You put it on the water and it lets you go across.
"No!" And he kind of shouts louder, trying to be heard over not really anything. Like the river is really slow. He says, the metal thing."
This is Div.
He's our friend.
"Right."
I am a cleric, if you must know.
He kind of like startles back a little bit. Oh. Wait,
Pleasure to make your acquaintance.
a cleric, you say? As in healing?
Yes.
Would you be willing to use that?
How bad is it?
He grimaces, and you can see that from here. This place it's not particularly tall, so it's not that hard to see him. And he says, it's hard to describe, but we're not well suited to jungle terrain. When the war ended, we were much more used to traditional battlefield lines of supply, and well, this is something entirely different.
I know the feeling. Div kind of rubs his medallion for a second, kind of absentmindedly. And then he kind of shakes his head and says, I can offer aid, at least in return for perhaps an overnight stay for my friends.
Very well. That we can work with. And then he comes down and the doors of the gates slowly open, pushing away a half-rotted corpse of some sort of reptile completely covered in flies. The flies in this area are just pervasive as well, just near the river, all coming down. It reminds you of the basin. That's another thing that you're running a little bit low on. But as you enter into this area, you see you're in this small gatehouse, and the inside of this gatehouse is made out of wood as well. It seems to be the heaviest part of this fortification. That you step through there, and then they allow you to pass through this area, and then you come out into this camp. And out in front of you, immediately, you step outside and you sink into mud about ankle deep. The whole camp has puddles that are formed all over it, except for a couple of dry patches. In front of you immediately, you see that there's a large square tent and then two circular ones. The dwarf is now standing next to you, and you can see that all of his armor is completely covered in mud. There are several rusted spots as well, and his thrain insignia of the silver flame is completely covered in mud as well. It's like has like a half attempted way to uncrust it. As you step in here, it begins to faintly rain, and
Shocked, just absolutely dumbfounded.
We have never seen Skywater before.
And as you look around, you can see behind these main couple of tents, there are smaller ones in the back. They're built on wooden platforms, but most of the wooden platforms are like half sunken into this mud. And the tent flaps are all covered in mud as well. There are a couple of crates lying behind these tents. And you can see that there are two fires that are kind of being meagerly fed, and they're just a small dry patch directly around them. But the dry patch is or you can tell it was mud until the heat of the flame dried them out. Off to the side, you can see a pin with just as much mud, and in that pin there are 4 goats that are standing there sunken into the mud. All of them are skinny. You can easily see their ribs. Some of the fur is thinning.
Babies.
As you come over to the side, this dwarf brings you through, and then he takes you and takes Div specifically, and he says, well, if you can heal, here are the sick tents. And he opens up one of the circular ones, and he points to both of them as sick tents. And when it opens up, you're hit with a couple of familiar smells, Div. This place has bandages, but more than that, it's not the good kind of smells. It's the smell of the sick and the wounded, the odors that come along with that. And then as you come into sense, you can see that there are about 3 people in this tent. Each of them are drooping with exhaustion, moving around to the beds, and the sick beds contain, there's about 10 people lying in these cots, which are also half sunken into mud. And you can just hear the sounds of coughing coming up from there. One of them is cackling off to the side. And then another one, you can see a really brutal looking gash across their chest. You can't tell exactly what the gash is because it's bandaged. And as you walk in, you see there's a woman who stands at the front, and she has a look that makes her look like she's more important, just rank wise. You can tell that there's an insignia there. And she stands up. You can see that there are bags under her eyes and wrinkles formed around her eyes. Her hair started to gray. And she comes up to you, and she's wearing a robe, the trails of which are completely covered with mud, about a foot up. And she comes up to the dwarf who brought you in, and she says, "Who are these strangers? We can't take on any more." And as she looks at you, and he holds out a hand and then whispers to her, kind of keeping his voice low for the people in this tent, and he says, "That tall creature right there claims it can help. I've offered to let them stay based off of their assistance." Are any of you other than Div actually in this medical tent?
Me.
I got distracted with the farm animals.
All right.
I'm not in there. I'm just waiting outside.
All right, so Nephis and Caylona, you're out there, and Jasper, you're staring at the animal. So Leroy and Dave, you're in there. And then the woman, she looks at you and she says, you can help. What are your skill sets?"
Yes, ma'am. I am. Well, I was a medic, and I am a cleric.
A cleric of who?
Of Boldre.
So you have some sort of healing powers then?
Yes.
We would be in your debt if you would use them. And she gestures towards the sick lying around, and she says, "Everyone in this camp has been on sick leave at least several times. We have magic ourselves, but we've worn ourselves to the point where it's gone. It's only so much. There's far more disease. There are people who we can help at a given time."
I understand. From what I've seen so far, the jungle can be brutal.
She nods and she says, "I don't think any of us understood how brutal it would be. Now come, follow me." And she brings you closer to somebody, and she says, "Can you cure disease?" Or
I should be able to.
if you have lesser restoration, you can cure disease with lesser restoration.
Yeah, I have lesser restoration.
Okay.
I get that for free because I'm a life cleric.
Heck
Well,
yeah.
not for free, but I have it in my spell list for free.
So yeah, that is what cures diseases.
Great. I do only have 3 second level spell slots though. And I do believe it's one target.
Yeah, it is.
So if there's, how many people are sick? Is everybody sick, or are some people sick and some people are dying?
So there are some people who are injured and being treated to. There is, and then this is just one of the 2 tents. There's another tent there, so there's 10 people in this tent, and then another 8 in the other tent.
Okay.
Liru kind of sets her hand on your shoulder, Div. She says, I can take some of the injured. Only a few, obviously.
Are you sure?
Liru nods. We can divide and conquer, as they say.
Well, I have 4 first level spell slots, and my healing word does a minimum of 6 healing. So
I can heal
Or
3 other
6
people. I am not a healer, but I can help.
it's much appreciated.
Okay, so there are 18 total people here. 14 of the 18 are sick with
Okay.
various diseases. Liru, you recognize one of them as having something that you swear like you know for some reason, because they have throat leeches.
Oh, yeah. I remember vaguely something about that. But I can't do anything about it. That's got to be a Luster Restoration kind of shenanigans.
So there's a couple of them. There's one of them who is cackling in the corner, and they're not sure exactly what he has, but Azaka is able to tell you the name of each disease that these people have. And one of them, so that person has mad monkey fever, which is caused by hallucinogenic mist that occasionally floats through
Rip.
the basin.
Man, these people were just begging for infection with all the stuff we've seen. This camp is a mess. Okay. So in theory, I can heal 3 sick people. And then I can do a lot of wound healing.
So there are 8 of them that are wounded.
Okay. Yeah. How many? I forget. Sorry.
You're good. You're optimizing. I totally get it. Liru's just kind of chilling, waiting to see how Div decides to properly divvy up.
Okay, so I can.
So
In,
this woman whose name is you hear her referred to as Sister Kayas. She points out to you the people who are in most desperate need of help.
okay.
So she's able to
And-
point out to you the most diseased people.
Okay, so disease is first and foremost. Okay.
Yes, she tells you that with the medical aid that we're to provide, either somebody is at least somewhat stable or they're dead at this point.
Fair enough. that tends to be how it goes. Okay. Who are the people? How many like super sick people are there? Because either I can prayer of healing and forego one lesser restoration for prayer of healing and physically heal 6 other people.
So she points out to you, you see the man cackling in the distance, or kind of in the corner. She tells you that they've been like that for days. They haven't eaten anything, and you can see that they're emaciated. And well, then actually, you can roll me a medicine check if you want to see exactly what's going on here. If you want to get a breakdown.
Okay.
You know these kinds of things.
I am proficient in medicine, which is good. Please stop rolling. It did not stop rolling, and it landed between numbers. I'm going to do that again. Terrible, actually. It's a whole 7.
Okay, so with a 7, then you are not really able to identify anything specific. These diseases are foreign to you. You've never seen them before. You've never, like, you don't know what exactly causes them necessarily. And you don't know, like, there's a couple of things where it's like with the man who's cackling in the corner, she tells you that happened after he passed through this blue mist while out on patrol. Then, or at least that's what the other soldiers who were with him said. There's another one who tried to drink water without boiling it first.
Liru kind of leans into Dev, throat leeches.
And then there's a lot of them who have just gotten sick from being here.
Okay. Okay. Well, I have 3 lesser restorations. So I can use those. I think technically, can I use
4 people that she points out to you, and she just says, these 4 have been diseased the longest. They've been holding on, but we're not sure how much longer they'll make it.
Okay. If I used my 3 spell slots and then I took a short rest, I could regain those spell slots, right? Theoretically.
You need to take a long rest for that.
Is that
Spell slot annoying.
I could have sworn you could use your hit dice to regain spell slots, but I guess I was wrong.
Wizards can do that, but
Wizards get an
it's
ability to gain stuff back, yeah, but not clerics.
Okay.
A specific cleric domain can regain a 2nd level spell slot, but I don't know if we're high enough level for that.
Yeah, you can mechanically not do that. You need to take a long rest too. In the meantime, what are the rest of y'all doing outside?
Sorry.
Wondering as to why they brought goats to the jungle swamp. These poor babies do not deserve that.
So you're just like staring at the goats.
Yeah, kind of dealing with their situation. Someone who does not belong in this landscape.
Nephis is kind of scanning the whole camp. she is very much trying to like avoid Caylona, but overall, she's just kind of trying to think of ways to make this camp not as horrible as it is right now, and being like, okay, when we set up camps, what did we do? Was I ever in a situation like this? And being like, because if we help them even more, they'll be even more indebted to us, and then more stuff. So that's her thought process right now. She hasn't talked
More
to
stuff.
anyone yet.
They don't have any stuff.
We don't know what they have yet.
Very
so
sad, starving goats is what they have.
That is
So-
one thing on the list.
Nephis, as you move around, they definitely don't just let you wander around this camp. You are escorted by a couple of soldiers, and you can tell just by the way that they walk, and you're walking through this like ankle deep mud this whole time that you're going around. Like there's just like squelching noises every time you try to take a step, and they're all following behind you as well. As you're scanning around, you're able to see, as you come back around, that there are a lot of what look to be personal tents for people, or ones that can hold a couple of people. The boards have mostly sunken in. Several of them are tilted at angles. You can see that there's a latrine set up in the back, but the latrines are all filled with water to the brim, which just kind of mixes in with this whole area that's just flat and even.
Bruh, no wonder people are sick. This place is a mess. Was it always like this, or did it recently flood and become all muddy?
You're talking to, we'll assume that the dwarf is next to you, and he's just kind of watching you around, and he says, we had to retreat from a spot we had downriver. We built this area to provide a little bit more protection, because the last camp we were routed, shall we say.
By what?
Undead.
That's so great. How many of them were there? Was it like a whole group of them, or?
That particular attack, we had a smaller force and no fortification. I didn't get an exact number, but there was over a dozen of them at least.
Do they just wander around the jungle, or?
As far as we're able to tell, yes, but they can sense the living, congregate near large groups of us. And he gestures and he says, did you see the piles of bodies out there?
Yep.
More of the blasted things. They're what we came here to destroy. They have an incredible number around these parts. Need to be cleansed, destroyed in their entirety. And
I agree. Was the game plan just to, well, not the, I probably wouldn't say game plan. Was the plan just to, send a squad down and try to wipe them out? And that was the whole plan that you were sent here with?
well, our plan was to settle in and go on patrols, isolate groups of them, destroy them. Planning to do it in a much further downriver, significantly closer to Nine Zaru, closer in supply. But, well, the jungle had some unexpected challenges. The undead we knew were coming. The giant reptiles did not expect those. And they're just as deadly as any undead creature.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of things that can kill you in this jungle. I have learned since being here.
He nods. And he says, well, if you're going to stay in camp, we best take you to see our commander.
Sounds good. Quick question, not in character. Would they care about my rank or no?
So they are Thrain Crusaders.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, no. It
Yeah,
have
that's what I
caused
was
bad
thinking.
blood because they were active enemies of yours.
Yeah, so I probably shouldn't bring that up. Okay, cool. Probably shouldn't go talk to the commander by myself, so I'll go back to get Jasper and I guess Caylona if she wants to come. I assume Leroy and Div are still busy, so
It could be like Caylona just overheard you and then just followed you.
yay.
Jasper, are you doing anything while you're staring at these goats?
Having an existential crisis and thinking if I could get away with stealing a goat.
There's a guard that's like standing next to you as well.
Oh, I've been giving him the side eye the whole time. Like, these poor goats are starving and you're just letting this happen.
And he's like leaning on a spear, which is just slowly sunk into the mud. You have as well. Like at this point, you're not sure that your boots are going to ever come out.
No,
Staring
I
at
like
these
those
goats.
boots.
But
My boots.
you're looking at them, and one of them just bleats a little sadly, and then starts like rooting around in the mud looking for something.
I wish I had something I could feed to the goats, but I do not. I don't even have anything to feed to myself.
Nephis, make me a survival check.
Hey. That's gonna be a solid 11.
So you recall that every time your particular group has ever set up camp on a riverbank, Azaka has chosen a spot that had a slight slope to it. And there are trails of rain that go into the rivers or to puddles. And there's always spots that are slightly higher. This camp is built on an area that is flat. On top of that, it has a palisade all around it, which goes down below where the water would drain. So instead of the water draining, it just sits here.
Yeah. They need to move, basically, I think, if they don't want to be stuck here dying from diseases from still water. We'll see what the commander says. Tee-hee.
So you walk into this tent, and it's this big tent in between the two medical tents. And the area itself, the tent itself, is largely empty, but you see that there's a figure standing in the middle of it, and he is a fairly tall but thin man. You think slightly, probably a little bit on the older end. His hair is thinning, and he is looking over a table in the center of this area, which is covered in maps. And as you can looking at these maps, it seems like attempts to map the area directly around you, and he keeps flicking through them, like just staring down with wide eyes and bags under them, a frown on his face, and he looks up as you walk in with this dwarf, and he says, "Ord, who is this? Is this reinforcements?" And the dwarf coughs and he says, no, not quite. There's a group of them that came out of the jungle." And he gestures towards the two of you. They came down from canoe, on a canoe coming from the south, from Aldani, and then arrived here seeking to stay. They are offering medical assistance. A few of their friends are. I haven't checked in on them yet, but I'm sure we could talk to Sister soon, and she could inform us on their progress. The commander frowns and he looks over at you, and he says, "You came seeking assistance from us then?"
Yes, we did. We have just been traveling a long time, and we're just seeking somewhere to replenish our strength and our supplies. We're very sorry to see that everything is not going as well for you as would be preferable, I suppose.
He frowns and he stands up and he says, like, straightening his back, and he's not a very physically imposing man necessarily. Like, he's tall, but you could probably toss this dude across a room with one arm. And
Good, that's all I've got.
Stands up and he says, "You want our assistance, and you say that you've offered to help. You want to replenish your supplies. We don't have too many supplies to spare, but I assure you this, we are accomplishing our task out here. We will cleanse these jungles of the darkness they represent."
It sounds like we have a bit of a common goal.
So you're here to cleanse the jungles as well, then? Good. I suppose you won't mind doing some assistance. We do not have enough supplies to spare, but we need to send some sick soldiers and messages down to Nine-Zara. And he says, "We will be willing to accommodate you if you take them downriver for us. You have your own boats, yes? This seems like a reasonable accommodation to me. To you in the tents, so you begin the work of healing these people. The first person that you walk up to that's incredibly diseased is this man who's muttering. He's incredibly thin. His skin is stretched taut over his face and bones. Div, what does that look like?
Div reaches out to just kind of like very gently, like surprisingly gently for what he is, kind of, just touch this person, and there's that kind of, it's almost soft, this golden flame that kind of curls out from his fingertips. He's muttering prayers and whatnot as he goes.
So this golden flame descends over this thin form, and you see that he's like chuckling to himself as mouth is just twisted in a smile, but it doesn't reach his eyes, which are just like flicking rapidly from side to side. And then as soon as this magic covers him, he stops smiling and his face relaxes and he just starts breathing in and out. His face fills in just a little bit and tears form in his eyes, and he just grabs you by the hand and just through the tears says, thank you, whatever you are. Liru, you approach a woman through the direction of Sister Caius, who has a massive slash across her entire chest.
Ouch.
Some reptile ripped her open.
Ew, dinosaur wounds, not good. Liru reaches into the bag and produces a little wooden spider. It's a bit like beat up, and she kind of frowns at it. She doesn't remember leaving it in this sort of condition. Usually she's very careful with her spellcasting focuses. And it takes her a minute or two to kind of like slot all the legs back in place and make sure everything is up to snuff before she sort of lets it gently crawl across the wounded person's chest, and it kind of stitches up that gash as it goes. I'm gonna cast Cure Wounds.
All right.
This lovely individual is going to receive 8 healing damage.
All right, so this spider goes through and the bandages have to be opened up, and looking at the bandages, you can tell that they're a little old. And Sister Caius tells you that they no longer have the luxury of using new bandages. They have to clean and oil the old ones as best as they can. And you can tell by the way that she says that she knows, she's aware of how like medically unsound that is, but there's nothing she can do about it.
Yeah.
And as this wound is cut open, you can kind of like hear this woman. She was sleeping and there's just like a grunt of pain. And then the spider weaves up and you can see that the wound heals almost entirely, just leaving a scar in its place. And she blinks awake and gasps, and then she just starts laughing. And then she looks towards Sister Caius and she just, I can breathe without it hurting. It's the first time in days.
Yay!
And then she looks at you and she's kind of startled and she says, was that you?
Liru sort of inclines her head, brushes her finger through one of the candles on her antlers. She says, yes, I am happy to do whatever I can. I'm glad you're feeling better.
This older woman, the Sister Caius, she smiles at you and then takes a blanket and places it around this woman's shoulders, and she says, don't get too excited, you're not fully recovered yet, but I think you're much closer than you were before. And the woman nods, just a beaming expression on her face as she lies back down and then her breathing slows as she goes back to sleep.
Yay! Helping people. I'm such a big fan of it.
Liru, Div, what does the rest of your process look like as you move around from individual to individual?
Div's movements are very methodical, almost muscle memory like. He's kind of like, he's uncharacteristically calm for the situation that they currently find themselves in, and the state of these people. It's very clear that he knows this place, this kind of routine. He's familiar with it, he's comfortable with it. So he just one to the next, doing what he can.
Liru?
Liru is sort of clearly a little less in her depth as Div, but is also practiced. She kind of keeps glancing over at Div to confirm that, you know, she's in the right area, that she's looking for the right wounds, all that kind of stuff. And just keeps rewinding, tinkering with that spider each time she sets it loose on a new person. There go my spell slots. They are gone now. Goodbye.
So as you tinker, and then people come across, and at first they're startled, like not really super willing to let the spider touch them, but the older woman just like places a hand on their shoulders and just encourages them to let you do that, Miru. And then this area becomes much brighter as people are now smiling instead of grimacing for the majority, and you don't quite manage to heal everyone, but you have reduced this camp's sick and injured by a significant portion. And you hear Div as you see this sister. She places a blanket around somebody who's there's the most common disease that you see, and the majority of the soldiers have this. You see a couple of people with throat leeches, and then you only saw one that has the disease that was causing them to just cackle. But you see that there are a lot of them who have just gone pale and are shivering and keep describing how freezing they are. And you are, so as you heal them, that disease doesn't seem to be quite as brutal as the other two. Seems like throat leeches, like you have it described, and they haven't called it the same thing as you have, but you have Azaka and Libra who knows what this is because Azaka told her. And so you're able to tell that throat leeches is basically tiny microscopic leeches in your throat that feed off of it until it closes and kills you. And so it's a slow, brutal process where your breathing just leaves you entirely. It becomes incredibly painful. It is an absolutely terrible disease. You hear this like description from one person who you just remove it from entirely, and you just place it in there, and you can just feel where the infection is, and you just burn it away, and it's just gone completely.
You're to boil your throat leeches.
And then, but this other disease still a lot of people have. And as Sister Kaias is placing a blanket around somebody, a memory triggers in your head.
Ooh.
And you recall a voice. And it says, "Want the blankets? And more of them are placed on you. And it says, I don't want you pestering me with any questions this time, understand? Good. Now follow me. And you recall standing in a tent, holding your arms out to the sides, completely covered in dozens of these blankets. Outside, there is snow and frost covering the ground. As these people walk up to you, they are shivering and cold, looking somewhat similar to how these soldiers look now. And they pull the blankets off of you, some of them with a mumbled thank you, most of them without, until you no longer have any, and you're just standing with your arms out to the side.
Just T-posing.
That's the entirety of the memory. Back in the command tent, there are 3 of you in there, yes? All right, yeah, so that's what he says.
So we would love to help you. I will admit, I think you need to solve some other problems with your camp before you're actually going to be able to complete the mission that you've come here to complete. Are you currently searching for another place to reside besides this specific location?
He like swells up at that, and he says, listen, I don't know who you are or where you came from, but I know how to run my camp.
Mm-hmm.
And you will not question me when you made it here.
I
You want
understand.
shelter? These are the terms I'm setting.
Okay. I understand that, sir. I understand that so vividly. I'm trying to help you, and I also would like to point out in as pragmatic of a way as I possibly can that we have been overall fine lodging wise. We came here because we thought it would be different. I'm trying to tell you that the conditions of your camp right now are very dangerous for you and for all of your men, and you are not going to be able to complete your mission if you do not get them somewhere where they are not going to be getting sick and dying.
Roll me an insight check, Nephis.
Oh no. Insight check. That's 16.
So as you're saying this, you're looking at this man and you just see his eyes widen slowly as you're speaking. You can tell a couple of things. You don't think this dude has slept in days. Like, whatever he's running on, you don't know what it is. Maybe just spite at this point, but he is not in what you would consider a rational state of mind as you're talking to him. And he swells up and he says, so you think I don't know how to run a camp? Well,
That's not what I said. That's not what I said.
Well, I think what my friend here is trying to say is
now you're interrupting.
No, you're yelling at my friend.
Okay.
Let us get on our feet and just figure out.
I gave you an order. Are you ignoring the order? Is that what you're doing?
I don't work for you.
So
Sir,
if traitors then.
Sir, please, General, Commander. I'm not questioning your authority or the reason you are here. And I am sorry that I've upset you. I am simply trying to help. I understand you are under a lot of stress. This is a very stressful situation. I've been in similar situations. I am also a soldier, though not from the same place, obviously. But I understand being in a situation like
So
this
you
when it seems like everything is
traitors
against.
then. And he just stops
No, I'm not.
listening, and he turns and he says, "They've destroying us.
Can
Arrest them.
Oh my
No,
god.
no, that's
We
not.
have no time for this. We can't take freeloaders. You refuse my orders? Very
Can
well.
Caylona
No.
pull like a? Have you guys ever seen Guardians of the Galaxy with like the little, like, she like gets in their head and like makes them fall asleep?
Mantis? We
Yes.
love Mantis.
No, you cannot do that.
Ah, darn it.
I'm not okay. Fine. I'll follow your orders. We'll do the thing that you want us to do where we take the people out. But can I no, never mind. I won't say that. I'm just kidding. I don't want to deal with this man anymore. We will do that in the morning because it's already dark outside. You should go to bed. Have a great night. We're gonna leave now. Meet up with our friends who are currently healing all of your sick people. Okay, guys, let's go.
He just like takes a step forward, but the dwarf in front of you just like immediately ushers you out, and he's just like, "That's a great idea. You should leave." He kind of like stares at you.
Yeah, let's go. Sounds great. Have a great night, sir. You should go to bed. No reason why. See ya.
Can Caylona just like casually like pretend to apologize? Okay. So while they're leaving, she'll be like, "I am so sorry." And so like, how close was he to them, like standing wise?
He was still behind his table. He'd like walked halfway around it.
Okay.
And you can see like his face is still like it's red at this point.
Okay. So she's gonna apologize and kind of like, she doesn't know if this is culturally acceptable in their culture, but she's just gonna like bow, in kind of a way, and she's like, "I apologize that we've upset you." And then is it like muddy on the floor?
It is.
Okay. So when she bows so that she's like even with the table so that he can't really see her hands anymore. And she swipes the mud off the floor. Just like uber quick, like throws it at his feet so that he can like feel it hit his feet. And then does he react to it at all?
What are you doing?
Are you trying to like do it where he can't see you throw it, or
Where he can't really see her throw it? Like it's not a huge amount, but just enough that he'll would like feel it and be like, "What the junk was that?" And like look down.
okay? Make me a stealth check.
Oh my gosh. Okay. This is terrifying. Please never work out. Okay, hold on. Oh, maybe it will. I got 20.
All right, so this mud splatters on his boots, and he kind of starts and then stares at it for a little bit, and he says, is there a leak in the tentacle? Where did that come from? He like glances around, just like quick things, and then the dwarf who's in there, he says, what, sir? What come from?
Caylona, since the dwarf came back in, she's like, "I'm not sure, but hope you have a good day." And then she leaves.
absolutely incredible.
Liru and Div, after several exhausting hours, you are finished with everything you can do in the tent. Sister Kaias was able to send home a couple of people that she said had been working constantly for the past 12 hours just trying to keep these soldiers alive. And she is incredibly grateful to you. And she just says, it is a blessing from the Silver Flame to meet such kindly strangers here of all places. I was convinced that anybody who came in would just try and kill us. It seems like this place is designed for that. But we are incredibly thankful for you, for everything that you've done.
I am happy to help.
How long have you been here?
We have been here for several months now.
Lyra kind of nods and cocks her head. She says, what brought you here?
Last camp, I wasn't there at the time, but the last camp we had was invaded. And well, we came here as was a troop of soldiers, crusaders after the war, and they needed some place to go. And we needed something to do. And we were sent on a holy mission to cleanse these jungles. And we've been here attempting to do that. The first time our camp was overrun with undead.
Lyra just kind of nods. She kind of pointedly doesn't say anything.
This woman, she sits down, and then you see another person comes in the door, and this is a woman who's wearing armor, and she's similarly ranked to the dwarf that you saw. You can recognize the same signia of rank because Frame people keep it right there on their shoulders. And this woman is human, probably about middle-aged. She has long dark hair and a dark tan skin tone. And she walks in and she looks around in surprise and she says, this is the emptiest I've seen this place in weeks.
You can thank my friend. Lyra kind of smiles and jerks her chin towards Div. The vagueness in her expression disappears. She's genuinely like, here, look at him, applaud when he walks in the room.
If you like come back in from the other tent, at this point, having been doing what you're doing, you are partially covered in blood, none of which is your own, as well as other things, like your hands are not clean. And you walk back in here and you see this woman, and she turns and she bows to you and she says, we are in your debt, whoever you are, whatever you are.
You may call me Div.
She nods and she holds a hand out towards you and then kind of like hesitates when she sees what is on your hand and then just puts it back.
That's fair.
Is my name.
It's nice to meet you. Are you aware that your camp is sinking?
Yes. Unfortunately, there's not much we can do about it. And she kind of gestures towards the outside and she says, if we try to move, we'll just get picked off as we go through the jungle. To do what? Spend backbreaking labor to make this kind of place again. What's to say we won't have the same issues then? Same problems. We are a target now, and the dead have somehow sensed us, and they come occasionally. And then the scent of them, even after we burn them, attracts predators, which then in turn attracts more undead. I suppose
makes
it could
sense.
be worse turn. Our goal here is to destroy them. Sent out patrols, but the closest thing to here is the Aldani Basin. And that would be even worse than this is. At least we're only under a couple of inches of water.
The infections are going to keep coming back, though, if you remain here.
She sits down at a chair, leaning her head back against a tent pole. And you can see that even though she's standing upright, she's just as exhausted as everyone else here. And she says, just kind of closing her eyes, you don't think we know that?
Liru kind of fidgets slightly. She says, I can't necessarily fix all of the issues that you are having in this area, but at least the water. I'm a tinkerer, and there are tools and devices that we picked up throughout our journey through the jungle. I could replicate a few of them, get you source of clean water at the very least.
She looks up, surprised, and she says, could you drain water?
Liru kind of cocks her head in thought. Drain as in from the camp?
Yes.
I might be able to. I will have to consider my options, my equipment. It might take a little bit of brainstorming and prototyping, but I can attempt.
If you could do that, well, that would make an incredible difference.
Liru gets this look of curious determination on her face, both in the sense of okay, I can help these people, and also in the sense of here's a puzzle. And she nods. She says, I can't promise anything. I don't want to lie.
You have already done more than we have any right to expect of you. I forget myself. Sorry, I've been on duty. What are your names? Your name, says your guested.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
What is your name?
I'm Liru. Liru Sadek.
She nods and she says, it is well met, very well met.
Well met to you as well.
There are too few people like you in this world. And then she lets out a sigh and heaves herself to her feet. And she says, what are your intentions here?
Liru kind of glances at Div. She looks a little bit vaguely confused for a moment before she says, we're looking for shelter and supplies on our way downriver.
She nods and she says, I cannot promise you anything about supplies. We're low enough as it is, but Shelter we can manage.
Lyra just nods. She says, we would be grateful for anything you can provide, but of course, after all this trouble trying to help you, we don't want to make it any worse. So don't overextend yourselves.
She nods and then says, well, how many? I saw that you had other friends. How many of you are there?
How many of us are there? Zeph, Azaka, Nephis, Caylona, Jasper, Div, me.
Yes.
7. Lyra kind of cocks her head, brushes her finger through a candle again. She says, 7, 8, 7.
She nods and then says, 7. Oh, right. We can do that. There are some empty tents out in the back, and all of our soldiers have. Well, a lot of them have been in the sick tents lately, and well, anyway, and she just kind of like mumbled under her breath, and she says, "If you can follow me, and we can encounter the rest of your friends." The rest of you 3, what have you been doing after you left this tent?
As soon as we got away from to the point where I knew that the general guy wasn't going to hear us, I say to the dwarf, I'm like, do you know that you need to leave, right?
And go where?
Out of
Even
the
just-
jungle. Anywhere else.
Even just a different campsite would be better for you. The spot you've chosen, I don't know who in your camp chose it. It's horrible. Anyone who, it's just not a great, you're just pooling water. You're basically living in a swimming pool, in a pond. And that's not how you're supposed to live.
Look, we're aware of the situation. We cannot just ignore a command from the Silver Flame either. I understand that you less faithful people do not know what that means, but we do need to try and accomplish our goal here. That is our priority. Now we know that this place isn't ideal, but at least it's defended. The last campsite we picked, well, most of those soldiers are dead now.
What good is a defense point if, when you're in it, everybody's dying?
What do you suggest we do then? Move to another place, build the same things, cause the same issues, get killed on the way?
Well, then it sounds like maybe you guys shouldn't be here until you're prepared enough to actually accomplish your goal.
He just kind of like glares at you and he says, we do what we must. Now, I don't know what you strangers are, but obviously I don't think you understand circumstances here. But let us not fight over this. You did as I requested and provided aid. And now you've accepted another order and we'll take you away. We can leave it there.
Okay, if that's what you want.
Well, the best.
And then he walks off. And you see this.
This camp is full of idiots.
That's what I'm saying, dude. Wait, is he far away? Is he still here? Can he still
You can
hear
wait
us?
until he's out of earshot if you want to say that.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. I understand wanting to follow a cause and follow a general and all of that, but if they're leading you to do something completely nonsensical, doesn't make sense to me. So
They're taking one step forward and then 6 steps back, sitting in the mud and drinking leech water. They've done nothing good for themselves. And listening to a delusional commander who frankly needs several naps is not helping them.
but apparently they don't want to be helped besides what they've asked us to do. So
Well, we'll do what we can.
I just don't see why we should waste our time here if they don't actually want us here.
We've been doing fine outside. Oh,
Yeah, but if they don't have supplies now, how are they gonna get supplies after we help them? Like, are we just still gonna deprive them of the things that they need? I know that they're already dying, but like, if you think about it, like, what do they have to give us?
Yeah, honestly, we should probably just let them. I don't know. I was gonna say let them die, but that's not very nice.
yeah, and I, as much as I don't like the commander, that's not fair to everybody else. And plus, I don't
know.
think Div would let us walk away.
That's
No.
probably true. I just don't see how being here serves us anymore, but
I think it's more of the greater
Let's just-
good in it all.
yeah, I know.
Help
That's,
those who
yeah.
can't really help themselves.
Yeah, but if they don't want to help themselves or let us help them,
Well, we don't necessarily have to help the commander, but I feel we should help everybody else.
that's fine, and we can totally do that. So
But what if the commander gets mad? Hear me out. Well, she wouldn't say that. She'd be like, okay, listen. He'll probably get angry if we do anything except for what he told us, because he's obviously crazy. So what if, since it's already dark, we just kind of do whatever we want to help people, and then we just, like, either leave in the morning or we like knock the mans out and tell them to like move camp,
as much
Not-
as I would love to see you knock him out, I
Sounds like
don't
a great
know
show.
how well that would go over with the people in the camp.
We
It would
could
be
tell him
very
he's just
amusing though.
sleeping. We could be like, he's sleeping here.
He's taking a
Take the ball.
permanent nap. Got it.
Yeah, the only issue is that would take a lot of effort on our part. And personally, I
Yeah,
don't know if that's
that's
worth
true.
it when we have such small supplies.
At this point,
Yeah.
Zaka walks up to you. She just kind of slides out from the shadows.
she's
And,
just been hiding.
she
like,
just like
"Ooh."
comes up from the side, and she says, "The supplies that they've been getting have been from the dinosaurs that attack this place. They butcher them. And that is the majority of their food. I expected them to be." She like lifts her foot, shaking some of the mud off. Well, I suppose that I shouldn't have expected people who aren't from here to understand. They do have Choltons here with them, but they told me that they're ignored.
Well, they seem to be ignoring a lot of people's good advice. So
What have you told
Hopefully-
them to do?
we told them that they needed to move camp because we have seen where you've been setting up camp, and this is just not an ideal spot for them in a lot of ways.
She like glances around and then traces the mud, and she says, they have built themselves a breeding pool for insects and snakes. It's like if you were to build a spot to keep the rain in, like a rain catcher on a larger scale. But she strokes her chin and she says, I understand that in a different place you could move one group to another, but understand that if you tried that in Chol to move this entire camp, more than half of them would be dead.
If
If
they
you're
stay
not-
here, more than half of them will die anyway. They've shot themselves in the foot and then stabbed themselves in the arm to try to make it feel better.
I agree that their situation is not ideal, but if they were to move, they would all die, unless they did it slowly. But, well, she just kind of waves her hand and she says, if they don't want to listen to those of us who have made our livelihoods surviving in the jungle, not much we can do. Big groups are dangerous anywhere in short. Attract predators and undead.
Yep. They're doomed.
What a happy note. Kaylona's just gonna go. Well, that's lovely. Shall we go see how Div and Liru are doing?
Yeah, hopefully they've accomplished something. So I feel like I've done nothing but be sad and get yelled at, but that's been this whole adventure so far.
I feel you.
At this point, Libra and Div, you do you walk out. So you three are standing kind of in this like main open area, and you walk out led by this woman.
2 questions just from a logistical standpoint for the engineer here. One, how thick is the canopy above this camp?
So the jungle canopy is not directly above this camp.
Okay. 2, tents or physical buildings? You probably said this, but it just went right out of my brain.
There are tents, and those tents are built on small platforms, most of which have largely sunken into the ground. Now, the outside wall there's a gatehouse building, and then there are several other buildings, but the only other actual building other than the ones attached to the wall are the outhouses, each of which is completely filled and half sunk into the ground. Like those structures look like they're about to collapse.
Okay. Okay.
What have you guys been up to?
Liru kind of jumps a little bit. She looks like she wasn't paying a super lot of attention to at least the people in her surroundings. She says, oh, hello, we were working on the sickness, the injured. We did what we could. How are you doing? Did you learn anything?
Their commander is not the smartest and not willing to listen.
Basically, we believe that they're hopeless, and our time is better spent elsewhere.
Also,
as she can.
Also, I think we signed up to move a bunch of sick people.
Yeah, we did.
Azaka like looks to where?
What do you guys? I don't remember. What
Was
did you?
Zaru.
Nine Zaru, I think.
She like her eyes go wide and she says, I thought you were in a hurry. That's how far we
Isn't
are
that
from
like
there.
where we came from?
It is. She says that is over
Ooh.
100 miles from here.
We're not going to Nyanzaru.
He wouldn't listen to us.
Yeah, I just kind of
just-
said
priests
we
of the
would do it, so
Silver Flame can
he's.
be very stubborn. Liru
I've-
visibly rolls her eyes.
It's too late now for us to make our camp elsewhere. Right? It's too late in the night to be able to go out and find somewhere else if we just wanted to disappear.
At this point, the woman who's most of you haven't met yet, just Liru and Div have, walks out of the tent. You can see that she has that insignia of rank on her shoulder, and she walks out and she says, this looks like all of you. Excellent. We can bring you to your lodging.
Lyra kind of glances at the others. She says, we can deal with your whole agreement in a moment, I suppose. And then to the woman whose name I was laughing when you said, and I did not catch.
Her name is Pern.
Pern, like the dragon riders of Pern. Good for her. Awesome. Lyra kind of inclines her head. She says, that would be much appreciated. More logistical questions. The whole thing is there one side of the camp that is lower than the other side? Like, is there a place where most of the water, not most of it, but like it's the water level is higher?
The water level is a little bit higher, closer to the river, but at this point in the actual fortress itself, it's kind of harder to tell, as the whole thing has been muddy for so long, just trapped inside of this palisade, that it's evened out.
Okay. The wall is made of what?
Wood.
Wood. And it's probably kind of rotten.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay.
At least partially. It's also made out of wood, which is native to Cholt and more used to constant water exposure than other places.
Is it like
It's still like not
acting
great.
somewhat as a dam? Is that like,
Yeah,
okay.
it's basically the structure itself, and I'm sure, Lever, you're kind of just like going around staring at this, trying to figure it
Oh
out.
yeah.
So actually, just go ahead and roll me a survival check, and I'll tell you what you can find out from that.
Awesome. I got a Oh, look at that. I got an 18.
An 18. All right, Lever, so you're able to determine a couple of things. First one is that this riverbank does slope somewhat naturally like it normally would. But when they built it like they would a fortification in a place that's not Cholt. Which is to say they leveled the ground, dug in, and then built it up from there. If this was not Cholt, this fortification would be excellent and it would do really well.
Mhm.
You suspect it'd be very strong, very sturdy, you know, great.
Just like they make it in Thrain. Yep.
Yep. But this is Cholt, and there are a couple of things in Cholt that are different. One is, the most major one is nearly constant rainfall. By building these and digging in to actually make it happen, they have they have a wall that is steady, but they also, as you said, have basically built themselves a dam to the point where the water just builds up and maybe leaks out slowly between the logs, but not enough to make a big difference. That water, that sitting water, has also caused basically a cesspool of disease. There are insects that are flying around everywhere. Just like anytime you're in this camp, you have to flick flies away from your face. Those latrines definitely cannot be sanitary. You're like, it doesn't look like they get actively used that much anymore, but you're sure that if it happened like even a little bit and then was once, like the rain filled up and it poured down and then flooded out over the camp, that would just leave that mixed in with like possibly up to a quarter of a camp and not really anything you could do about it.
Yeah.
So you think pretty much your biggest issue here is that there's no water drainage. If you could fix the water drainage, the majority of the problems here would be fixed, because the reason that the buildings are sinking in is because there's nothing but mud here and the rain has been soaking in a little deeper every day. And so if you could cause a way for this to drain and for the mud to eventually get dried up, which you think would happen somewhat quickly in the extreme heat of Cholt, if the water at least rained a little bit, it would stay damp. Like there's no point in Cholt where you're going to have ground that's like actually dry. It's too humid. But you can get it to the point where it's not mud anymore. And then the other logistical issue is that the trench that they've dug, which has these big wooden spikes, is also filled with water, which has also been leaking in underneath, making it basically so that this whole camp is built on a foundation of mud.
This trench is on the outside, like a moat,
Yeah, it's not supposed to be a moat, but it is now.
but it has become one. Got it. Okay. Cool. Noted. Liru is sort of sloughing through mud, kind of tracing the edge of the camp as she's like generally following you, but she's very clearly like investigating, I guess.
She so this woman who's leading you, she brings you back to some tents, and then there are 4 of them. Each of them has like a log floor, which is kind of half sunken into the mud, and then cloth mattresses. And she brings you in, and there are 2. She says that there are 2 tents that are empty currently, and she allows you to sleep in those so that you can sleep in there. You can also see that the canvas of these tents is completely covered in mildew, and there are like fungus growing on it.
Gross.
Mushroom friends.
Not to say that that's different from what you've been doing, because you've definitely slept on mushrooms before.
It's more
Fair.
comfortable than mud.
Like, even though this is like distinctly gross, it's more of a place than anything that you've had recently.
Yeah, it's far more sheltered than we've been. Liru kind of gets situated, I guess. But then she could, I want to talk to Pern for a second once we're all kind of settled in.
She just points out like these two tents to you, and then she says, "We thank you for everything that you've done to assist us here."
Yes, of course. We may have a slight snag in that we might not have made a very good first impression on your boss. Liru says, giving us sort of like a side eye at Nephis and crew.
Jasper kind of just stares at the ground like, he yelled at me first.
We made an agreement that we will not be able to uphold. And we don't want to take advantage of your hospitality if that is going to be a problem. Liru kind of snorts. She sounds mostly frustrated.
Well, I wouldn't jump to conclusions. We
What
might
kind
be
of
able.
agreement?
He pushed upon us taking a large group of people back to where we came from, and did not let us discuss it with him, and assumed we immediately agreed.
Did you?
Well,
No.
I did agree, but it was just so that he would not put us in jail.
I
So
didn't agree, but if need be, I can help take them back.
we're not gonna do that. We'll figure it out.
If he gave you an order, then he's likely, whether you agree to it or not, going to stay after you.
He never told me a time constraint, though. Technically.
That is true.
You've met him, correct?
Not
Unfortunately,
really.
yes.
Kind of got yelled at, and then that was about it.
So you think if you were to explain that to him, that it would go over particularly well?
No.
We don't have to explain it to him.
You
Listen,
have
not to be
eventually.
rude, but what exactly can he do to us? Just to be blunt, Lyra kind of runs a hand through her hair, gesturing widely.
Well,
This camp is a
if
mess. All of the soldiers are either dead or injured or sick. We have helped. He needs our help. If I can, I have a plan, but it's whatever. Even if we were to go back on our word, it would be very rude. It would be very rude of us. But I am very tired and I do not particularly care.
She looks at you and she says, with all due respect, you spent the majority of your time in this room. There are more healthy soldiers here than you think.
so,
But-
why ask us to do it?
Because, and she gestures around, he's rather desperate, but you do bring up the point where you've offered us plenty of assistance. And you're not crusaders. You do not have the same mission, obligations, duty, or oaths that we do, nor should we expect you to understand them. I will speak with him. I will encourage Sister Caius to do the same. Whether he likes it or not, he has to listen to her.
Lyra cocks her head. Who?
Sister Caius is the lady who you were with all day.
Oh, yep, cool. Got it. Thank you. Sorry, the names, they go into my brain and they go out the other side of my brain. When I'm making schematics on how to train this camp. Don't worry about it.
I hope he listens.
That would definitely be appreciated.
Thank you.
She nods to each of you and then she says, I think it is you who we should thank. You have given us much needed light in a dark time. And then she
Gestures to
marches off.
Div. Him. There he is, the best boy.
You're welcome.
Lyra kind of lifts like a hand in a half wave after her. Is there any place to sit down in this tent?
You could, it's like slightly damp, but that's no different than, anywhere you've been in the past several weeks. So
Awesome. I'm going to.
it's not actively in the rain, even though there's several
Yeah.
parts of the tent that are like dripping. You're not actually in the rain.
I'm going to sit down in a place that I think is less likely to drip. And Lyra pulls out her notebook. It's different from Mirasandra's notebooks. A different notebook. Wild. How do we have so many notebooks? Don't ask. And I'm
There's
gonna
no way
start
there's more than 2
schematicking,
notebooks.
drawing some plans up.
Who's in what tent? There's up to 4 people per tent.
Kaylona's probably not in the same tent as Liru and Div.
Jasper's still scared of the consequences of his actions and not in the tent with Liru.
I will go in the tent with them.
Cool.
Okay. So it's just me and Jasper and Zephyrus and the other one, and
Zaka,
else?
possibly,
maybe.
maybe.
Zaka doesn't really care. She'll just go wherever.
Asaka's just like laying in the mud outside. She's like, this is
She's like, I've faced worse.
This is my home.
Unlike the rest of y'all, she does live here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she'll go wherever you want her to go.
In our tent.
Yay.
She just kind of like sits off in the corner and just has like this tense stance. Like she's used to scouting out every night. Like that's what she does. She
Yeah.
goes around, like does the perimeter, catches her own food. And she's just kind of like sitting there. Like
You
fidgeting.
you can relax. We're fairly safe here. I know that's not something you do, but
I don't know, Jasper. These people they're kind of sketchy. And if you ask for my opinion, I think we should like leave ASAP, but we do need sleep. So
well, if it comes to it and the commander doesn't like any solutions proposed to him, I can help them leave. I shouldn't have ever came to this jungle anyway.
Jasper, what are you talking about?
Jasper, I'm
I've-
the one who said yes when he gave the order.
You're not in our tent.
Oh, you're right.
You're avoiding Caylona.
Yeah,
That's true. That's true. It's actually probably good.
just a young city boy who thought, ah, yes, adventure, help out an old friend. And I've done nothing here but nearly get myself killed. I feel like I've nearly gotten everyone else here nearly killed. Been yelled at by two very angry people.
Jasper, you are a very, and know that I say this wholeheartedly because I don't say this to people often. You're a very genuine and wholehearted person. But if I'm going to be honest, I think you need to stop caring so much about other people. Like, it's probably not in your DNA, but you've been really helpful. And you've been like a great addition to the team. You've helped us all see the positive side of everything. I think we would have given up a lot earlier without you. So just, you can do this. Keep going. You got it. Kaylona's kind of
Thanks.
surprised that she said that. She's like, that was weird. And so she's like super sheepish after that. She's like, okay.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I'll try to just keep on moving.
Yeah.
But
So don't be giving up. We need everybody here. The death curse is gonna be hard to beat even if we had a whole army.
oh well, I mean, they have a whole army here, and look where it's gotten them. But
Yeah. So
yes,
are we down for like if the lady comes back in the morning or whoever is in charge and comes back and is like, sorry, you have to do the thing. We just kind of sprint really fast.
I don't think that's going to work. We have a couple larger members of our party who might not be able to move that fast.
Well, we could do distractions. I'm pretty sure Nephis would be good at that. She's a pretty strong human. She could break some stuff, right? Like she could just like cause some chaos. Well, that might not be very helpful because then that would just be mean. I don't know. We'll figure something out.
I don't think running away is a great option. I mean, you just told me not to back down and keep moving forward.
But that's different. She's like stopping because she doesn't know what like how to phrase it without him being like, what is wrong with you? And so she gives up and she's like, personally, I'm a selfish person, so I tend to put my needs a little bit before other people. And these people seem really sad and really helpless, and we want to help them, but I don't even know how much helping them would do for them, period. So
But we can't just let them die out here. That's not right either.
yeah, but we aren't gods. We can't really control who lives or dies.
No, but we can help the ones that are still alive.
even if they don't want to be helped.
Huh. I don't think I've ever asked.
We
But
could. It just seems like all of them are just so intent on that general. It's almost like we just need to like, what's that called? Assert dominance, almost like animals do in the wild.
I don't think that's a good idea. This man seems very intent on doing what he pleases. And it seems our compatriots have befriended at least 2 other people that might be able to talk some sense into him.
That's fair. Azaka, what do you think?
She just sits up and she says, they came into the jungle. It is up to them what they have done since then. They
See?
want to survive.
So is
They
your
will
plan
learn the ways.
also leave? Because we could, when night gets dark, make our way to the other tent and try to convince the others.
I could also mentally speak with a couple of them, but that's only if all 3 of us agree.
I am here to do as you request. I'm in your debt now. I can take you to the location whenever you want.
Well,
Hmm.
there are the sick and needy here. This is kind of Div's thing. Don't know if he'll let us leave. There are still those who need help, and I don't think Lever would let us leave either.
Yeah, she seemed like she had some sort of schematic, or I don't know what she was doing with that notebook, but she obviously had some sort of plan to help people, and you know how she is.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'm going to attempt to stop trying and just get asleep, and we'll figure it out in the morning.
That's fair. Do we want to wait though? She's like, just kidding. No, you can you can go to bed. You need to sleep.
It is sleep time.
Mhm. Can Caylona slip into Nephis's brain? Mainly because, I don't know, for some reason she feels like that's okay because she knows it would bother her.
You can say something in there if you want. You do have to be able to see her.
I have to be able to see her? Did the tents have cracks in them?
Definitely.
Okay, she's just gonna like, when like little kids like try to peek through cracks in a door? That's kind of what she's gonna do. And it's kind of creepy because like her eyes are glowing and it's dark. And so her eye is just like this one green eye, like looking through this crack, like staring at Nephis. I don't know if Nephis can see her or not, but the message that she's gonna send over to Nephis is just if we had a plan for leaving, would you want to leave?
If you're able to respond telepathically to that.
I just think back and it works. Okay, I think back. Yes, but I'm in this tent with these 2 philanthropists, and I'm not sure if they would let that happen.
Knock them out. No, just kidding. Caylona, can she send another one to Nephis since she can still see her?
Yeah, once you force that link, it just is there until you change
Oh,
it.
perfect. Okay. So she's just gonna say, yeah, but I think if they accomplished their missions, there wouldn't be much of a reason for them to stay. Div is a pretty strong-willed person, but he'll follow Liru wherever she goes if we can convince Liru.
I don't know. If honestly, I believe that maybe he can be talked some sense into him from people who are his own soldiers and everything. So I say we wait some morning. If it doesn't work out, I have full confidence in our abilities to figure out something else. Also, I am tired, so kind of want to take a nap. Go to bed.
Caylona, like, visibly sighs, but, like, Nephis can't hear it. And she just says, okay, sleep well. And then she cuts the link and lays in her bed with no intent to fall asleep. If she falls asleep, it's on accident. But in reality, she's, like, worrying over every possible thing that could happen and how to get out of it.
Nephis makes a mental note to tell Caylona to never do that again.
Liru, Div, are you two doing anything? Well, the three of you, I guess.
Math. I am
Yeah,
doing
we're-
math, arithmetic over here. Yeah, if it means I'm drawing up some like possible like where to put holes in the walls, where to dig trenches and or fill the outside trench in order to move things. There's a couple of scribbles on the side of can create, like, know how to purify water, can create something that does that when I'm not here, question mark, question mark, question mark, and then like a bunch of like doodles and drawings and possible golems to make underneath that. She's going wild. May not sleep tonight.
It's okay. Your spell slots weren't doing anything anyway.
Bro, excuse you.
Your whole 3 spell slots.
Hey, I use more spell slots out of combat than any of you, except for maybe Jasper.
I was gonna say,
Anyway.
excuse me. Also, Div gets to work on his own from now on. Got it.
I can just not heal you guys if you want.
That's fine. I got healing word. Everyone else will be just
chill.
fine.
We're being chill. Lyra is trying to be quiet as to not disturb the sleeping Nephis and the Div who has gone into washing machine mode, or whenever Div decides to go in washing machine mode, maybe he wants to talk first. I don't know. But that's what I'm doing.
Div paces the tent for a while first. He knows he can't do anything else, but also there's more things to do.
Nephis like watches them for a while and is like, oh, they're both very engaged in things and not going to sleep. Great.
Nephis regretting
then-
her choices.
And then she'll just kind of scooch to the side out of the way of both of them and kind of try to go to sleep quietly.
Every time that like Div walks across, the logs just shift a little bit down with his weight, and then they shift back. Just slowly. But this is something that you've been doing for a long time. And or sleeping in the relative noise of Cholt, because Cholt is not a quiet place. Also, you're just deadbeat tired. You've spent the past several days just canoeing miles every single day. And even though here you only spend about half the day doing that, it's still exhausting work. So you're able to slip off. Eventually.
Yay.
Perception checks, please.
Perception for me?
Perception. Great. No.
I have received a 16.
That's an 8.
Liru, you hear somebody come outside from the tent across from yours. You hear the sound of boots in the mud.
Lulu kind of raises her head, brushes her hand through a different candle this time for luck, and kind of peers out to see what's going on. Who is it?
So looking out, you see Azaka comes out of the tent and then she hurries and goes off.
Okay. Do I care? Yes.
No.
I had to think about that one for a second. I'm gonna follow Azaka.
So much for sleeping tonight. Where are you
I
going?
will not be doing it stealthily. I am just following her. Liru has no need to lie about her intentions. She just walks off after Azaka.
Okay, so you just like walk off after her. Azaka is moving at a sprint. It's
Oh,
going quick.
she is going quick. I will, driven by curiosity and the manic STEM student energy of having a big project that you're taking a mental break from, I'm gonna sprint after her.
Can Div even keep up like at all?
If you
Because
want.
it's not like he's not gonna notice Liru just leaving.
Yeah, no, Libra, you definitely notice like Libra just like looks off to the side, kind of like cocks her head to a little bit, and then heads off. Libra, you start sprinting after her. And you see she's running straight towards the wall. And then as you're going, this woman forms from one of your candles and she's running with you and she has this long hair and antlers coming from her head. This is Caylona. And she looks to you and she says, Liru, would you like me to help?
Liru kind of glances over at her and grins. She says, anything you'd like to provide, Jay? I always enjoy our little stunts together.
She smiles at you and kind of swirls and she says, we do tend to have a lot of fun, don't we? Follow me. And then she sprints and Azaka is going a little bit faster than you can, but she's able to follow Azaka to the point where you can track where she's going. And that is, you rather quickly come up to a section in the wall where the watch people can't really actively see you. And then you see Azaka hits the wall and she scales it faster than she should be able to.
Wow. Liru kind of grins. Just more data for a idea that's been forming in her mind pretty much from the moment they first started to see interesting aspects of Azaka, the strange things that she can do and the wounds that she never takes. I don't have any spell slots because I did not sleep, which is fun and spicy. So I'm gonna have to do this old school and just climb the wall.
Okay.
Can Div just like grab her?
Well, you see like Liru is sprinting and so you're just like following behind her and then Liru is going to attempt to climb the wall, so we're going to see you're behind her. So Liru, go ahead and make me this is going to be kind of tough. These walls aren't designed to be climbed, but it's possible.
Fair.
So we'll see what happens. So make me an athletics check.
Athletics. I got a 17.
A 17. Okay, that is exactly what you needed.
Oh, wild.
Why are you like this?
Sorry, Div.
So Div, when you catch up, you see that now this wall is not particularly, it's not like massive. It's about 20 feet tall. And so when you get there, Liru's about halfway up, somehow bracing herself on these beams and coming and moving the way all the way up. And it appears her intention is to go over.
Liru, what are you doing?
Investigating, Div. Liru kind of whistles, and for a moment it doesn't quite sound like her voice. She says, as I've been taught many a time, we're taking a little brain break.
By going into the jungle.
I'm following Azaka.
That does not put me at ease.
I'm sorry. I know you want me to come down, but I have no intention of doing so. I'll be fine.
I
was
have my
climbing
doubts.
like that whole time.
Yeah.
So you say like that last like, I'll be fine, just as you reach the top.
Yep. Liru kind of looks down at Div and smiles. She says, always worth a little adventure, I say. I don't have much time left. And then she goes over the side of the wall.
Hate it when she does that. Okay. I could try to climb it, but I don't think, with how I've been rolling tonight, I'm going to get a 17 or above. So, Div knows his limits, okay?
That's valid, honestly.
So you know what? Instead, he's going to kind of frustratedly like rub at the eyes he doesn't have anymore, and stalk off back towards the medical tents.
As you're leaving, why don't you make me a perception check?
Oh boy.
Oh, Boise.
Oh,
Boise.
Boise. Wow, look at that.
Oh, dear.
13.
13. Okay, then. You head back.
Yep. That's what I thought.
Liru, you slide over the side of this wall, and then Jay is kind of off in the distance, and you can just like hear her voice faintly, and she says, quickly, Liru, she's fast. Impressively so.
I will sprint. This jungle is kind of singing around Liru. It's not the same jungle that she knows, or even the same forest that she knows, but the life that pulses through it is the same. And she listens to the plains, she listens to the ghosts, and she just runs.
Liru, make me a survival check.
Survival. I really am the right personality for this one. 18.
18. Okay, so having been in this jungle for a couple of weeks and being familiar with this kind of setting in general, you are able to track. You have to jump over, but you're able to kind of land on one of the long spikes and then come down from that to start running off into the jungle where Azaka is, and you're able to keep her off in the distance of your sights. And she's winding back and forth quickly as she's moving deeper into the forest. And as you're moving, Jay kind of comes back to you, and she says, Liru, she keeps looking back at you. I think she knows you're following her.
I wasn't trying to hide. Neither of us can lie.
She nods and she says, well, Just letting you know, I suppose.
I appreciate that. She's probably trying to get rid of me or lose me somewhere before she's going to anywhere that she's going. And if she is, and if I do get lost, then Lear just kind of shrugs. It's been a very long time since I felt alone. Well, I'm never alone, but just you and me, you know?
She just kind of smiles and she says, "That's right. That's what we do." And then as you're going, you hear another contemplative voice in your head, and it's from Akos. And he doesn't physically appear. You can kind of tell that he's distracted, and he just says, "Full moon tonight. Never seen those in Chok. I'm surprised I can see the sky." And then his voice kind of fades off.
Yup. Miru kind of nods. She says, "It is rather unexpected weather, rather unexpected timing. I knew I was right about this. I knew it."
So you get closer to her and you're actually able to close ground to the point where you're only about 20 feet away. And then she just spins and stares at you, and you can see that her eyes are glowing orange at night. And she lets out like a hiss that echoes through, and her voice is half that, but she just says, "Trust me, Hero, tonight is not the night you want to be near me."
Liru raises her hands, sort of both of them stays back. She says, "It's a curse, isn't it?"
Make a perception check while you're there.
I got a 14.
Azaka is normally quite tall. She's a couple inches taller. And you can see as she like hisses those words out at you, her canines have elongated. And then as she holds up her hands, they are in the shape, they have claws coming off of them several inches long that you're able to just make out through the moonlight.
Lear says, "Can I help?"
She shakes her head and she says, "No, you cannot. Nor do you need to. This is part of who we are." And then she's like scrambles up a tree incredibly fast.
Liru sort of stands there, and she looks more like her elk, her beastly self, than as she ever has in the past. This running deer, chasing a tiger, and she understands then exactly how reversed that is, and exactly how much she might want to start making it the other way around. And she says, "We appreciate all your help. We appreciate who you are. Thank you." And then she will book it. "I am going back the other way, baby."
She just kind of like looks at you as she's in the tree, and you can see that her fur has started to grow over her arms by the time
I knew
you
it.
sprint away.
Sorry.
And then just
didn't mean to
behind
interrupt
you, you hear the sound of there's just crashing branches, but not coming in your direction.
Lyra is just kind of flying light on her feet, on her hooves through this forest, away from that strange connection of friend and predator, that she finally feels like she understands. I will try to find my way back to the camp, but not quite go in just yet.
Make me a survival check.
Okay. Ooh, that's gonna be a good old 11.
You start wandering and you think you're going right in the right way. Like you're like, this has to be where I came from.
Yep, knew that one.
After an hour, you're like, there's no way we were gone for an hour, right? Like that can't
be right.
You're
Lyra
like, I'm
kind
not
of
that fast.
sighs, runs a hand through her hair again. She says, oh, what does she say?
At that point, you're standing alone in the trees, large vines dangling down. You can barely see the night sky through the canopy. It's not actively raining, and you hear a growl coming from behind you.
Oh yeah.
That's where we'll stop for tonight, everyone.
Oh yeah.
Who's
We
ready
will-
for the third death of the run?
We will see you all
No.
next week. Have a good one. It will be a fun time.
It'll be a fun time.
Bye.